Welcome to the Data Product Management in Action podcast, created and executive produced by me, Scott Hurlman, and brought to you by Soda, your best friend in data quality and contracts tooling. We created this podcast to serve as a place for actual practitioners bringing product management practices to data, whether that is to AI and ML, data products, platforms, or everything else in data, right? And it's to dig into the nitty-gritty of product management in data, but in fun and dynamic conversations. It's not just lift and shift from software product management. We have a great set of hosts for you that are also practitioners, so they can really get into those specifics and dive deep and get you the information you want to know rather than just high level, here is what a data product is. This is about cutting through the noise of data product management to drive towards actionable insights, hence the actual podcast name, Data Product Management in Action. So sit back and enjoy another awesome conversation.
Hey everyone, I'm Michael Toland, and this is the first episode of the Data Product Management in Action podcast. I am here with my lead co-host, Frannie Helforoush, and we're just really excited to, introduce this podcast, give a brief overview of what we're going to be talking about, the format, and just really why we created this podcast to really help product managers working with creating robust data products and solving problems within their organizations.
Thanks, Michael. This episode will really be to introduce the two of us, our background, how we got into data product space, and a little bit about how each of us approaches data product management. I think we can start up by introducing ourselves. So my name is Frannie. I am data product manager / technical product manager at RBC Global Asset Management. I started off my career as software engineer by working a lot with data, and then I moved to product work and was working on software digital products as just normal product manager for a long time. But then because I work with data both as a developer and as a PM, I joined the data team to be a bridge between these two worlds. Now I work as both data product manager and as I said, and technical product manager for self-serve analytics data platform. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, and so I'm Michael Toland. Most people are going to probably, that you'll hear us chat with, are going to call me Toland. I tend to go by my last name just professionally. It's a weird thing. But I currently work at a small software development shop doing consulting work and product coaching and consulting. The firm's called Test Double. We're pretty awesome. And I got my start not in data. I didn't get my start really in anything technology related other than working for a major telecommunications company in customer service back in 2009. Started, moving around the company to where I got to a device testing role in their revenue assurance department, which was really around systems auditing, tracking how data from your device went through and registered to the network to get rated by the billing system to ensure really that we build our customers all that they should be billed and only what they should be billed. Did that for a couple of years and, improved some systems and processes because I can't stand really inefficient stuff. And I was given a stretch assignment to review some accounting nightmares that was popping up in our balance sheets. That were also mirrored into securities that were sold into the open market. Found a pretty significant issue working with some accountants and learned about how data just processed through all of our transactions and what led to that. And so I kind of got promoted to be a product manager over all of our amortized workflows, whether that was device payments, promotion credits over time. It's really what I became known as. I was a faux accountant, as they liked to say. And I was tasked towards the end of my time at this telecom company with migrating their in-house promotions reference data and decisioning engine for qualifying point of sale orders with different types of promotions. I left in 2018, went back, did a little more consulting with them as an independent consultant, and then found my way to a couple other firms until I found the small little product coaching firm called Pathfinder Product. We were happily acquired by Test Double as recently as November of 2023. And, we're really just trying to combine two facets that help make product great, which is great engineering and great product management. But I think something that's really interesting about this podcast and is really sort of how we got involved in this. And I'll let Frannie talk a little bit more on how she got involved in it and then how I got involved.
Yeah. So when I was product manager, long before I came into this data role, when I first heard about the data as a product concept, it made a lot of sense to me. So it was so clear to me that, yeah, you treat your data as a product instead of as an asset. So it's just super, sensible concept. And then I started to search about it to learn more. And then I found that there are no, close to no resources out there. It was a long time ago. There are a lot more at this point, but still, I was struggling to find even like articles about data as a product or data product, or what are the differences, or what are the concepts, or what are the terms, and so on. Then I got offered to be a product manager for self-serve analytics data platform. And I took that opportunity to just learn more about data products and the whole concept. Then I got introduced to data mesh concept, and then I found out, there's a whole lot of words there that I didn't know about. Then I got into dig in to find out more about data mesh, data products, what are the difference, what are the terms, definitions, and so on. Because I was the only bridge in our team between data and product, what I started doing was to mapping concepts from product world to data world. For example, if we are defining like product manager as a bridge between software engineers and software users to make sure the software satisfies the requirements of the users, then I started to define that as, okay, data product manager is a bridge between data producers and data consumers to make sure that data satisfy the requirements of the users or the consumers. So I started to map all of the concepts together. Or another example that I always go with is that when we say a product manager is between tech, business, and UX, what does that mean in data product management work? So let's just map all of those concepts together. So business is business, tech is tech. In case of data, is more leaning towards data architecture, data science, analytics, AI, ML, and so on. And then now what's UX? So now how we can define data user experience, for example. Is it just accessing and working with data? Is it data fluency and access? So all of those questions came to my mind, and I tried to map them and somehow simplify them for my team. And then along the way, I really realized that there is a lack of space, like this podcast, that we try to understand from each other what worked for you and what didn't work for you. What was your experience that you really, with try and error, you just find out, this is really working. And what was the experience that you think that, no, it's not working, so I'm not doing that anymore. So that space is really going to be helpful for data product management in action, really. So literally to help everyone to try to understand anything that is actual and practical. It's not just about the concept, not just about the theory, but about how and what worked for you and what didn't work for you, and then try to just exchange experiences and implementation notes.
Yeah, I love all of that. Like it's so compelling. I think, early in our careers also, as you said, there weren't resources. I think that we're figuring stuff out on our own, failing, trying again, getting a little bit further each time. And I wish I knew now all the things, or I wish I knew then all the things that I now know, and that there were resources available. I think I got involved in this through I got onboarded to a client that my colleague, who's been a panelist on the Data Mesh Radio podcast, talking about data as a product. She and I were hired by a client to build out their first data mesh, and I had never built a data platform. I had migrated reference data platform, but never like truly, hey, we're going to stage and land data here. And so it was a huge learning opportunity for me. But I think about all the time that I've worked in large enterprises and learned a lot about B2B software, particularly B2B software that handles a large amount of data, and then building products that allow users to get what they need done. And so many of our big products, especially data-related ones, introduce so many different bottlenecks. There's a platform team, there's a governance team, there's a quality team. And it's really about, to me, building out your data products as a data product manager is really understanding from ingestion all the way to consumption for my end users. How do I make that process as seamless as possible? Really taking to your point, Frannie, the user experience of the end user and consumer, and then also really thinking about, wow, I've got data engineers who are building on this platform, and how do I build? And I've done a lot more form work versus related to specific data products, but how do I build this platform in such a way that really focuses on enabling engineers to do what they do best, which is delivering a product that can be easily utilized by a consumer. And so I really focus on a lot of like, what does the consuming party or end user want to get done at the end of the day, and then build the product in a way that allows them to do that with minimal effort, interactivity, or bottlenecks. And so I think, to what Frannie had said, each episode, we're going to try to tackle a specific topic and focus on those tactical steps to overcome these challenges that our guests have faced. I think we're not solely interested in what you hear, again, to theoretical conversations and principles, because this can feel really isolating and lonely. And these are common problems that oftentimes you just feel that loneliness because there's been a lack of resources. I don't know, Frannie, if there'd be anything else you'd add as far as like, what the goals of this podcast are that you want to cover.
No, like you said, this is about sharing information that is hopefully useful and interesting, being open about failing and successes. And then each week we joined by different hosts, different guests, about how to create great data products, different type of data products, how different companies approaching different methods, how have they been successful, and how did they fail, and then had to pivot and start from the beginning, and what was the process for them. And hopefully we gain a lot of learning and a lot of interesting experiences from each guest and each hosts for this podcast.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we get the sense that folks who may feel like they're drifting along a sea of ambiguity without anywhere to turn, hopefully you can get some inspiration from this, get a sense of you're feeling not alone. And I think often a lot of people who come on podcasts are pretty open to being reached out, contacted. We always, if that's something that our guests are going to be open to, we'll provide their LinkedIn profile for that opportunity in case like you want to follow up and ask questions. And so again, like Frannie had said, we're really going to focus on some conversational interviews, maybe a couple panels among data product managers. We have some guest hosts lined up to help us make certain that if Frannie and I are unavailable, to continue delivering this content regularly and also get additional perspectives, because it's such a new sort of attempt to tie product management to, I think, something that's less consumer focused and more internal for our organizations. But there's really a mindset of product management that really delivers internal products just as well. And I think we have to, in order to, in my opinion, unlock the best of our internal talent, build internal tools and products and platforms that enable them. And so that we're going to talk about internal data products, external data products, and figure all that out as we go along.
Oh yeah, for sure. Do you want to talk about the format of the podcast? So as we said, They are going to be rotational hosts. And I think we are hoping to have weekly episodes with different hosts each week. Anything else about the format?
Yeah, I think it'll be more conversational interviews. It's probably going to be less academic and get really into the nitty-gritty of tactically, like, what is it that you did? Or I think so many of us constantly are facing budget hurdles and how do we get funding for our data project and our data products to like really, I mean, Frannie, I think when we talked in prepping for this podcast, I mean, just getting buy-in to move to this model of thinking and approach for data products, particularly internal ones, that's a huge hurdle that I think we really are hoping that our guests can help us, unpack different ways and methods.
And how their process is working, how their teams and structures are. I'm so interested to see how their data teams, like who are their data product managers report to, how are their team structures, how is their hierarchy, or however they just set their data teams, or even is there a data team, or they are just fully transferred into data mesh and they are just, fully domain like focused. So I'm really interested to see how in action people are doing things.
Yeah. And then if you're, moving towards your traditional sort of data warehouse type environment, and I know that the data mesh radio covers this, but from a practical layer, I'm building data products now, maybe based out of a relational data warehouse. I haven't built a transition to domain focus. Well, what are the first steps that I do to start taking that domain focus? Like, these are really tough questions to answer and then get buy-in from senior leaders. Like, my head was blown when I was doing this for a client, and it took me a good 8 to 9 months before I even understood all of the component pieces of what I was trying to build and why it mattered. And I failed a lot. And I think I'm excited to talk through with people like, where did you fail and how'd you pivot?
So we're hoping to have lots of additional perspectives with different hosts, different guests. Anything else about the host you want to mention, or we're just going to have a separate episode about other hosts and like co-hosts about of this podcast. Any final words?
To add on to that, you'll after this episode, we'll be releasing some mini episodes that are going to introduce themselves, just a little bit about their background, so you can hear from them as well. We may introduce additional hosts in the future. It's really going to be whatever we can find that's going to, what we think, deliver the best message. And then I think there's some thank yous in order. This podcast would not have come about without the data mesh learning and data mesh radio community. Specifically, shout out to Scott Hurleman, who has had both Frannie and I as guests on his podcast with the data mesh radio community, who's really cultivated this and kind of helped spur through early conversations starting as late as last summer to really get us to this point. So first of all, shout out to Scott. He's well known in this community. Secondly, partners at Soda, particularly Tosh Lauer, who's going to be helping us with backend production, support for content management. I'm so excited. Every time I've ever chatted with her, she's a delight. And then finally, Laconia Butler, who's like our jack of all trades coordinator, helping with recording, editing, and promotions, some scheduling assistance, doing some pre-interviews. I'm really excited to have this great team on board with us.
Yeah, shout out to all the people that Toland mentioned. I'm so excited to start this podcast and hear about everyone else, including other hosts and guests, and hear about everyone's experience and perspective.
So hopefully this the little preview sneak peek of our podcast gets you a little jazzed up and interested. We're really excited. Again, we're going to shoot for weekly episodes as we launch. And yeah, Frannie, any final words?
No, stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. Thanks all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much for listening. Hopefully you got some great actionable insights out of this episode. We're so excited to dig deeper into data product management and its many facets. If you want to engage more with the show, you can follow us on LinkedIn And check out Soda's website at soda.io for more related content around product management in data. And if you are a practitioner bringing product management practices to data and want to potentially be a guest, please check the show notes for a link to apply. And as always, we strongly encourage people from underrepresented groups in tech to apply. Much as I'm a handsome devil, we don't want all our guests only looking like me. So again, let's get excited for more digging into data product management in action.